So the final section or the final chapters in the processes section that we are going to read and cover this semester are chapters 32 and 33, which are revision and editing. So we started with writing as inquiry, and we moved through drafting or pre-writing, generating ideas, drafting, assessing your own writing, and now the final step is revision and editing. So, what is revision? A good definition of revision is re-seeing your work after you have written a rough draft. It includes large level changes, such as the following: creating new paragraphs, deleting whole paragraphs, adding or subtracting sections of paragraphs or sentences, moving paragraphs around to different places, so cutting from one place and pasting to another, and deciding to clarify your point, which would require some rewriting of the paper. So all of those are large level major changes that you can do when you're thinking about revising or reseeing your draft. So why should you revise? Well, of course, after reading the comments I have made, you are asked to revise based on my suggestions. So that's one reason, of course. But think about other classes where you're not required to do this entire process of writing. You're not required to brainstorm, assess your writing, write a rough draft, write a final copy after you revise and edit. What are some reasons to do so then? What are in any other course or any other paper that you may write, academically or non academically? Revising can sharpen your focus, it can provide clarity, it can help improve the organization of your paper. So, those are all important reasons to revise. So now we move into editing and proofreading. And I'll start on the right side because that is an illustration I found that gives some overall definitions of editing and proofreading. And then I'll talk about the left side of the slide here. So editing is a process of revising the content, organization, grammar, and presentation of a piece of writing. Proofreading is checking for accuracy in a piece of writing that includes things such as grammar, spelling, and punctuation. So proofreading is a part of editing, but editing is much more than proofreading. Thus the illustration of proofreading inside the editing portion. With editing, so here we are on the left side of the slide, you are concerned with smaller level revisions. So at this point, you're not looking at large structural things such as adding or creating paragraphs, deleting parts of your sentences, rethinking the clarity, writing more. In editing, you're thinking about things such as transitions, verb choices, the use of dialogue, tone, beginning words of sentences. For instance, in a literacy narrative, many students start almost every sentence with the word I. In your summary and response essay, many of you just started sentences with the words he said, or even in the response section, I think, I think. This is where you work on editing. You think of a variety of different sentence structures, the specificity of your word choices. So all of those are editing, smaller level revisions. And proofreading, again, is looking for grammatical and mechanical errors. Think about which errors you are most prone to make and read carefully for those errors. I did notice in the rough drafts of your summary and response that many of you have trouble with sentence fragments. So I mentioned that on your rough draft. FRAG period stands for fragment. So read carefully where I put sentence fragments as an error in your paper and how you can change those. So that is editing and proofreading. And here are some final suggestions on revising your paper. This is the last step before you turn in the final copy. One suggestion that I've always made and that I actually utilize myself when I write is to read your paper backward from the last sentence to the first. It won't make sense in terms of flow, but you may be able to find sentence level errors and proofreading errors more easily that way. Have someone else read your paper who can help look for clarity and proofreading issues. Read your paper aloud. Make sure you are pausing where you have put punctuation in your paper, not where you would pause as you speak. And reading it aloud may help you to find errors in clarity, grammar, and organization. Read it aloud slowly, though. Don't read fast. And pay attention to all words and all punctuation again. And one final copy is to print your paper out if you have a printer and read it as a hard copy, which can also help detect errors, revision possibilities, and editing issues. Now, if you don't have access to a printer, then you can do the same thing. However, just reading it again very carefully and slowly on the computer. So anyway, those are all some final suggestions. And this is the final slide in the processes section of our book. Bye-bye.